Today we're going to talk about the new Netflix crime thriller, The Last Days of American Crime, so let's get started. Hey everybody, my name is Justin. I love to watch movies. If you guys love to watch movies too, you guys are in the right spot. Make sure to hit the subscribe button down below and click that bell notification for more up and coming videos. In the not too distant future, as a final response to terrorism and crime, the US government plans to broadcast a signal making it impossible for anyone to knowingly commit unlawful acts. This is based off of a graphic novel which I have not read, and the film is 2 hours and 29 minutes long. Usually I don't mind long films if they are entertaining enough. As I was watching most of this film, I was constantly checking the time to see when it was over. This film drags so much. And I thought, this is such a terrible film. Why is it so bad? And then I looked up who directed this film. Edgar Ramirez, the director of Taken 2, Taken 3, Colombiana, and Transporter 3. That tells you right there which kind of film this is. There is so much in this movie that just makes no sense and adds nothing to the plot. Our three main characters are Graham, Shelby, and Kevin Cash. Together they try to commit one big crime to obtain a lot of money before the signal is sent out. With the film that's being 2 hours and 29 minutes long, you would expect some character development, to know them personally throughout the film, and you just do not get any of that. I could care less about any of these characters. I had to go back onto IMDb just to figure out what their names were, because there was nothing that was impressing or even memorable about these characters. So as you're watching them all work together to get a bunch of money to pull off this heist, I found no character development at all, and I just did not like any of these characters within the movie. There was no personality to them. They just went there, they acted, and then they left, and that was it. Paired that with some really bad action. There was a lot of action within this movie, but there was also a lot of times where there is a lot of downtime, and it just adds nothing to the plot. The action is filmed like your typical Edgar Ramirez kind of film. Taken 2, Taken 3. It's kind of that style of directing. With it being 2 hours and 29 minutes, there's also a lot of moments where they just add nothing to the plot. The plot is very interesting. The concept I really enjoy. I think it could have been explored a lot more. The government behind it all, the reasoning for it, I think they could have dived deep into this concept, but they took the different route to kind of show the behind the scenes and how would it affect someone like Graham and Kevin and Shelby. So we have that story where the signal is affecting people and they want their freedom. I think they could have dived a little bit deeper into the concept of it because it's really interesting. But there are a lot of times where we are introduced to certain characters and there's certain situations that these characters are involved in, and really just doesn't make any sense and really doesn't add anything to the plot of the movie. And that's where I find a lot of downtime in here, and the 2 hours and 29 minutes doesn't really feel justified. Maybe if I read the graphic novel, I would understand the runtime, but without reading the graphic novel, a lot of it just makes no sense to me. This film was a chore to get through right away. I found the pacing to be just kind of up and down. You would have some action scenes and you would have a lot of downtime, and you felt like it was never really building up too much. You know what was going to happen at the end. You were going to have your heist part at the end of the film, but at times with certain situations and things that were happening, you never felt like they were actually going to get there. This film actually had a lot of potential to be an interesting film with its concept. Edgar Ramirez is a really good actor. I think he could have added a lot of personality to his character. There could have been some world building within here. There could have been some backstory with the government, but it just took a lazy route. The pacing is all over the place. The writing is just horrible for this film. And the action is just so quickly shot where you don't really even feel like the intensity behind it or even be thrilled by the action scenes. They're just kind of there and you're just watching it. I expected a lot more for this film. I was really looking forward to it, honestly, just off of the plot and the cast within it. But I got a really terribly made film that at times just did make no sense. And you have these characters that you're spending 2 hours and 29 minutes with, and there's only three really main characters. You feel like you should know them a little bit and understand the reasoning behind doing this crime, but we don't get much of that. So The Last Days of American Crime was a pretty boring film, a long film, not a really entertaining movie as well. I don't recommend checking this movie out. I would be interested in reading the graphic novel because it does seem really interesting. I like the concept of the movie, having like this signal that tells you not to do any crime. That's pretty cool. That could have been explored differently within this film. I'm going to go ahead and give The Last Days of American Crime a D+. Thank you guys for checking my review for The Last Days of American Crime. It is on Netflix now. I would recommend skipping this movie and checking something else out. Stay tuned for more up-and-coming Netflix content. My name is Just Watch Movies, and you guys stay classy, YouTube.